A very good morning, students. Today's class we are going to study about foreign debt problem in India. So in this class explain about debt problem in India. It includes types and classification of debt problems. It is a very easy topic. You can understand. Just I am explaining this video, then I will share PDF. Okay, let us start. What is debt? The refers to the borrowings from the government, from the public and other institutions. Usually, government raises loans when its revenue falls short to meet its expenditure. In India, both central and state government raises loans. Public debt plays an important role in a capital poor country like India as it is an important source of resource mobilizations. It also increases the savings of the people, controls inflation and helps to increase production, income and employment. Hence, the public debt has become an important tool of economic development. Meaning of public debt. Public debt refers to loan raised by a government within the country or outside the country. Every government like individual has to borrow when it is expenditure exceed its revenue. The amount borrowed expenditure exceeds its revenue the borrowed by the government during any given year, the income of that year. Therefore, it may be considered as revenue of the government, but the basic difference between the public debt and other source of revenue is that public debt has to be paid back. The government collects tax from the public without any commitment or government from the banks, institution and individuals on the conditions that is will be repaid along with the stipulated of the interest. Definitions. According to Find Shiras, nature which a state owns to the subject or national of the other countries. According to Professor P. E. Taylor, the debt is the form of promise by the Treasury to pay to the holders of these promises a principal sum and, in most instances, an interest on that the principal. Borrowings is restored to the order provided funds for the financial current deficits. Professor Carl S. Schwab defines a public debt or government borrowings as the receipt from the sale of financial instrument by the government to individual or firms in the private sector to realize manpower and real sources and top finance and purchase of those resources and top finance the purchase of those resources or make welfare payments or subsidies. Next, types of debt. The public debt of the government of India are classified into three groups. There are internal debt, external debt, and other liabilities. What is internal debt? Internal debt of the government of India refers to the money borrowed from individuals and institutions within the country. It consists of all internal borrowings and market loans. It is also include treasury bills issued by the government of India to RBI, commercial banks and other institutions. Another one, external debt. The loans borrowed by the government from the foreign countries and international financial institutions is called as external debt. The main source of external debt are foreign government, banks and financial institutions, foreign capitalists, World Bank, IMF, Asia Development Banks, etc. Other liabilities. This includes all outstanding liabilities against various small savings schemes, provident funds, compulsory deposits, and interest bearing and reserves funds of the railways, post and telegraph, etc. Reason for the growth of public debt. Let us see one by one. Development projects of the government, meeting temporary budget deficits, control of inflation, and the low taxable capacity of the people, an increase in defense expenditure, increase in debt service or interest payments, rise in the non-developmental expenditure of the governments. Higher government interference in the public utilization and infrastructure field, meeting natural calamities like floods, famine, earthquake, etc. The classification of debt problem. It is important for the exam purpose. Productive and unproductive debt. Let's start. Loans may be classified into two categories, that is productive and unproductive debt. A debt is said to be uh, productive if it is yields on income which is sufficient not only to the pay interest thereon the repay the principals over the long period of time. These loans are invested in productive assets or enterprises as the railways, irrigation, multi-purposes projects, etc. Redeemable and irredeemable debts. On the criteria of maturity, public debt may be classified as loans or those loans for which is the government promises to pay off in the future at a specified date, for as to make some arrangement to their repayment. There are therefore terminal loans if there is decided to pay from the tax, money fresh tax have to be imposed. On the other hand, an irredeemable debts are those whereas the government never pay off the principal. Sorry, but it pays off the interest regularly. Their maturity period is not fixed. They are generally of the long duration. But it pays off interest regularly. Their maturity period is not fixed. They are generally of long duration. Under such loans, people are burdened with the debt of the taxpayers have to be paid have at the end. Another another debt problem is funded and unfunded debts. The public debt may be classified into funded and unfunded or floating debt. Funded debts are long-term debts which is the repayable after a year or not redeemable of the all the called E has a funded debt. It is a comparison of the securities which are marketable on the stock exchange. It is obligation of the part of the government to pay a fixed sum of the repay the principal in this category of debt the creditor bondholders on the right expect and the interest payment to them according to Friendly-Shiras. Fund, funded, funded debt is the debt which is the repayable at a distant date and therefore be payment of interest on which regular provisions is more. Another one, compulsory and voluntary debt. Generally, government debt is the voluntary type, that is, individual and institutions are invited to take up government bonds. Sometimes pleasure may be applied by the government is sealing bonds and loans such as raised are non-compulsory borrowings. Another one is marketable and non-marketable debt. The government loans between interest bearing and non-interest bearing loans. Marketable debt is one of which is the securities cannot be sold in the stock exchange markets. Main objective is to prevent fluctuation in their prices. Gross Gross and net debts. Gross net consists of amount of debt outstanding at any item, whereas the debt is the balance other assets unmarked by the repayment of the debt. Okay, thank you.